The rain in Seoul doesn't wash things clean. It just makes the neon lights look like bleeding wounds on the pavement. I stood in the shadows of the master bedroom, my hand gripping the cold, hard handle of the letter opener inside my apron pocket. Thunder shook the floorboards beneath my cheap canvas shoes, but my hand didn't shake. Not even a little bit. Ma Tae-Yong, the dragon of Gangnam. The man who ordered the strike that left my twin brother fading away in a dark alleyway in Atlanta. He was standing right there, facing the floor-to-ceiling window, looking out at the city he owned. He was shirtless. I could see the muscles in his back tensing, the jagged marks that told stories of a world I could only imagine. He was vulnerable. Alone. If I moved now, I could end it. I could strike right between his ribs and watch the light leave his eyes the way it left Malik's. I took a step forward. The floorboard creaked. He didn't turn around. He didn't even flinch. He just spoke, his voice deep and rough like gravel grinding against silk. If you're going to take me out, Bennett, aim for the left side. The heart is slightly to the left. Don't miss. My blood froze in my veins. He knew. Somehow the Titan knew. Before I tell you if I struck his heart or if I dropped the blade, you need to hit that subscribe button right now. Like this video and comment, I'm watching along with your country, because this story is about to get intense, and trust me, you don't want to miss a single second of the heat that is coming. Welcome to Stories Pulse. Let's get into it. I wasn't always Bennett West, the invisible maid scrubbing floors in a Korean penthouse. 6 months ago, I was just Bennett, a nursing student in Atlanta, sharing a cramped apartment with my twin brother, Malik. Malik was the good one. He was working 2 jobs, trying to save up for an online tech certification course, messing around with those AI coding tools to build a better life for us. We were finally getting somewhere. We talked about buying a house for Mama. We talked about the future. Then came the phone call. The one that splits your life into before and after. Street conflict. That's what the police called it. Collateral damage. They said a stray shot meant for someone else hit Malik while he was walking home with groceries. But I knew better. Malik didn't walk through dangerous neighborhoods. And when I got his things back, I found it. A crumpled piece of paper in his pocket with a logo on it. A black dragon coiled around a sword. And a name. Ma Tae-Yong. Seoul. I spent my entire savings on a private investigator who used some high-end data tracking software to trace the evidence. They weren't street groups. They were elite. Professional. The trail led straight across the ocean to the Ma Corporation. Malik wasn't collateral damage. He was a target. And I was going to find out why, and then I was going to bring the man responsible to justice. That's how I ended up here. Wearing a basic uniform, head bowed, pretending to be a clumsy foreigner who barely spoke Korean. I had to get close. I had to become invisible. Miss Bennett. I snapped back to reality. Miss Paik, the head housekeeper, was snapping her fingers in front of my face. She was a small woman with eyes like a hawk and a style so tight it probably pulled her thoughts backward. Are you listening? She hissed in Korean. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am, I replied in broken, accented Korean, keeping my eyes on the floor. This is the most important rule, she said, pointing a bony finger at the heavy oak doors at the end of the hall. That is the master's wing. You clean it only between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. when he is at the office. You never go in there when he is home. You never speak to him. You never look him in the eye. He is not a man who tolerates mistakes. Do you understand? I understand. Good. Madam. She is difficult. But the master? He is formidable. Stay out of his way and maybe you keep this job. I didn't want the job. I wanted the truth. For the first 2 weeks, I was a ghost. I cleaned. I scrubbed. I listened. The Ma mansion was cold. Not just the temperature, but the feeling. Everything was marble and glass and sharp edges. It smelled like expensive sanitizer and loneliness. I learned the rhythm of the house. Ma Tae-Yong left at 7 a.m. sharp in a black sedan with tinted windows. He returned past midnight. His wife, Shin Hygiene, slept until noon. She spent her afternoons shopping for luxury brands like Chanel and Hermes, or getting in-home treatments from a mobile medical spa team that came to assist her perfect, pale skin. They lived in the same house, but existed on different planets. I was dusting the hallway outside the dining room on a Tuesday when I heard the shouting. It wasn't the usual bickering. This was screaming. "You are failing us." I froze, pressing myself against the wall. The voice belonged to an older woman. Madame Cheon. Tae-Yong's mother. The real power behind the throne. "Mother, please," Tae-Yong's voice. It was the first time I'd heard it clearly. It sounded tired. "Not tonight. Every night," Madame Cheon yelled. I heard the sound of china smashing against the table. "The board is restless, Tae-Yong. The stocks are dipping. They say you are weak. They say the Ma bloodline ends with you. You need an heir. I don't care how you do it, but you need a legacy." I peeked around the corner. Just a sliver. Tae-Yong was sitting at the head of the long table, his head in his hands. He looked like a man carrying the weight of the sky. Standing over him was Madame Cheon, looking furious in a traditional hanbok. And sitting to his right, looking bored, scrolling through her phone, was his wife, Shin Hygiene. "Don't look at me," Hygiene said, popping a grape into her mouth. Her voice was like scratching a diamond against glass. "I told you, mother. That ruins the body. I have a modeling contract with that European fashion house next month. I'm not changing my figure just because you want a grandchild. You are his wife." Madame Cheon shrieked. "It is your duty." "It is a contract," Hygiene snapped back, slamming her phone down. "My father gave you the port access you wanted. You gave my father the construction deals. That was the trade. My personal life was not part of the negotiation." Tae-Yong stood up. The movement was sudden, powerful. The chair scraped loud against the floor. "Stop it. Both of you. Make her do it." Madame Cheon grabbed Tae-Yong's arm. "Or find someone else who will. I don't care how you do it. Just get it done, or I will remove you as chairman. Do not test me, my son." She stormed out, her heels clicking like sharp strikes down the marble floor. Tae-Yong stood there, his chest heaving. He turned to his wife. His eyes were pleading. I'd never seen a powerful leader look desperate. "Hygiene," he said, his voice low. "Please. It doesn't have to be like this. We could try. Maybe if we just tried to be a real couple." Hygiene laughed. It was a cruel, ugly sound. She stood up and smoothed her silk dress. "Oh, honey. Look at you. You actually think I could be near you without feeling sick? You're a brute, Tae-Yong. A commoner in a designer suit. I sleep with the door locked for a reason. Don't make me ill." She walked past him, bumping his shoulder, leaving him standing there alone in the giant, empty dining room. I should have felt happy. The man I blamed was miserable. His life was a mess. But watching him stand there, head bowed, hands clenched into fists until his knuckles turned white, I didn't feel triumph. I felt something uncomfortable. I felt pity. He turned suddenly, and his eyes locked onto the corner where I was hiding. I gasped and tried to duck back, but it was too late. "You," he commanded. I stepped out, trembling. This was it. He was going to punish me for eavesdropping. Sorry, master. I was just cleaning." He stared at me. His eyes were dark, like infinite pools of black ink. He walked toward me, slow and predatory. I gripped the duster in my hand like a shield. He stopped just a foot away. I could smell him, sandalwood, expensive spirits, and something metallic, like danger. He towered over me. I had to crane my neck to look up, but I kept my eyes on his chest, remembering Ms. Pake's rule. "What is your name?" he asked. Not angry. Just intense. "Bennett," I whispered. "Bennett West. Bennett." He rolled the name on his tongue like he was tasting a new wine. "You heard everything." I don't understand much Korean, sir," I lied. He scoffed. A dry, humorless sound. "You understood enough. Your eyes, they are too expressive for a liar." He reached out. My heart hammered against my ribs so hard I thought it would crack them. I flinched, expecting a blow. His hand stopped in the air near my face. He wasn't reaching to hurt me. He was reaching to fix something. His thumb brushed against my cheek, wiping away a smudge of dust I didn't know was there. His skin was rough, calloused, but his touch was shockingly gentle. An electric shock zipped through my body, starting from my cheek and shooting straight down to my toes. I forgot to breathe. He froze, like he felt it too. His eyes dropped to my lips, then back up to my eyes. For a second, the air between us got thick. Heavy. Hot. It was suffocating. "Clean this mess up," he said abruptly, pulling his hand back as if I had burned him. His voice was cold again. The mask was back on. He turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows of the hallway. I let out a breath I had been holding for 2 minutes. My legs felt like jelly. I touched my cheek where his thumb had been. It felt hot. That was the night I realized 2 things. First, Ma Tae-Yong was not just a monster. He was a man in a cage. And second, getting close to him was going to be much, much easier and much more dangerous than I ever planned. I went back to my tiny room behind the kitchen. It was barely big enough for a bed and a small desk where I kept my laptop. I opened it up, the blue light illuminating my face. I had a secure VPN running, connected to an encrypted server. I typed in my daily log. Target is emotionally unstable. Marriage is a sham. Mother is pressuring for an heir. He is compromised. I paused. Was he weak? Or was he just starving? I shook my head. It didn't matter. Malik was gone. That was the only thing that mattered. I pulled up the file I had accessed from the home office server a few days ago. It was a list of transactions. Millions of dollars moving through shell companies. I was looking for the payment for the incident involving my brother. Then I saw it. A transfer date that matched Malik's passing. But the recipient wasn't a shadow operative. It was a medical facility. A holistic wellness and trauma center in Switzerland. Why would a powerful leader pay a trauma center the day he ordered a strike? Curious, I whispered to myself. The next day, the atmosphere in the house was even worse. A storm was brewing outside, heavy rain lashing against the windows. Madame Cheon had called for a family dinner. That meant Nam Ki-bum was coming. Nam Ki-bum. Tae-Yong's cousin and right-hand man. The underboss. If Tae-Yong was the dragon, Ki-bum was the snake. He was handsome in a K-pop idol sort of way, perfect hair, perfect smile, charming. But his eyes, they were cold. I was serving appetizers, tiny, intricate things that looked too expensive to eat. Ki-bum was sitting across from Hygiene. I noticed something. A look. A glance that lasted a second too long. Ki-bum's foot brushed against Hygiene's under the table. She didn't pull away. She smiled. A real smile, not the sharp, cruel one she gave her husband. My stomach churned. Tae-Yong didn't notice. He was drinking whiskey, staring into the glass like the answers to his problems were drowning at the bottom. "So, cousin," Ki-bum said, his voice smooth like oil. "I hear the West Coast shipment is delayed again. The international partners are getting impatient." "I'm handling it," Tae-Yong grunted. "Are you?" Ki-bum swirled his wine. "Because Uncle says you are distracted. Maybe you need help. I can take over the overseas operations for you. Relieve some of your stress." "I said I'm handling it," Tae-Yong snapped. The glass in his hand cracked. Silence fell over the table. "I'm just trying to help," Ki-bum said, holding up his hands in mock surrender. He looked at Hygiene. "We all just want what is best for the family, right, Hygiene?" "Of course," she purred. "Tae-Yong is just overworked. He gets so emotional lately." They were manipulating him. Both of them. It was so obvious I wanted to scream. Tae-Yong stood up abruptly. "I've lost my appetite." He stormed out. "Bring another bottle," Hygiene ordered me, not even looking at her husband's retreating back. I hesitated. "Ma'am, maybe I should check on. Did I ask for your opinion?" She turned on me, eyes flashing. "You are the help. You fetch wine. You do not speak. Go. I bowed. Yes, ma'am. I went to the wine cellar, grabbed a bottle of vintage red, and brought it back. As I poured for Ki-bum, he leaned in close. Too close. He smelled like expensive cologne and something unsettling. You're new, he whispered in English. My hand slipped. A drop of wine landed on the white tablecloth. Careful, he smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. We don't like messy things in this house. I cleaned the spot frantically. Sorry, sir. You speak English well, he observed. For a maid. I watch a lot of American movies, sir, I lied again. He studied me for a moment, then lost interest. Go away. I retreated to the kitchen, my heart pounding. Ki-bum was sharp. Sharper than Tae-Yong. I had to be careful around him. It was past midnight when the storm really broke. Thunder rattled the windows. The power flickered, then the backup generators kicked in with a low hum. The mansion was dark, lit only by the emergency lights along the floor. I couldn't sleep. The image of that transaction, the medical center, kept bothering me. I needed to see more files. I crept out of my room. The house was silent. I moved toward the office, my footsteps silent on the marble. The door was ajar. I pushed it open and stopped. Tae-Yong was there. But he wasn't working. He was sitting on the floor, leaning against the desk, a bottle of spirits in one hand and a metallic weight in the other. He was staring at it like it was a friend. He looked up. His tie was undone, his shirt unbuttoned at the top. His hair was messy. He looked devastatingly handsome and completely broken. Come in, Bennett, he said. His voice was heavy. I know you're there. You're always lurking. I should run. Ms. Pake's rule. Never enter his space. But my feet moved on their own. I walked into the room. Sir, you should go to bed. Bed, he laughed bitterly. To the empty bed? Or the one where my wife dreams of another man? He took a drink from the bottle. Did you know, Bennett? Today is the anniversary. Anniversary of what, sir? I asked softly, stepping closer. The day I became a shadow, he whispered. The day I had to give the order. My breath hitched. He was talking about it. He was talking about the Atlanta incident. Why? I asked. The words slipped out before I could stop it. Why did you have to? He looked at me. His eyes were red-rimmed, full of pain so raw it was hard to look at. Because if I didn't, they were going to hurt the children. The innocent ones. I had to choose. Sacrifice one to save 20. It's the logic of darkness, Bennett. And I am the one who counts. My world tilted. Sacrifice one to save 20? What was he talking about? Malik wasn't threatening children. Malik was a nursing student. Who? I asked, my voice trembling. Who did you target? He shook his head, closing his eyes. A boy. He was just a boy. I didn't even know his name. But his face. I see it every night. He raised the object, resting the cold metal against his temple. Sir! I screamed. I lunged forward. I didn't think so. I just moved. I grabbed his wrist, wrestling the weight away from his head. He was strong, but he was overwhelmed, and I was fueled by adrenaline. The metal clattered to the floor, sliding across the room. We collapsed together. I was on my knees between his legs, my hands gripping his shoulders, breathing hard. He was staring at me wide-eyed, the fog clearing for a second. Don't, I whispered, tears stinging my eyes. Don't you dare take the easy way out. You owe a debt. A debt? He murmured, his gaze dropping to my lips. To the boy I said, my voice shaking. You live. You carry it. That's your consequence. His hands came up, gripping my waist. His palms were hot, searing through the thin fabric of my uniform. The tension in the room spiked. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was something else. Desperate. Primal. You're not afraid of me, he whispered, sounding odd. Everyone is afraid of me. But you look at me like you want to challenge my soul. Maybe I do, I breathed. He leaned in. I could smell the spirits on his breath. His eyes searched mine, looking for permission or maybe looking for judgment. Then challenge me, he whispered. His forehead rested against mine. We stayed like that for a heartbeat, 2 heartbeats. The air crackled with electricity. If he leaned closer now, it would be a disaster. It would ruin the mission. It would complicate everything. But despite everything, I didn't pull away. Suddenly, the door to the office swung open. The lights flickered on fully. Tae-Yong? What on earth are you doing? We sprang apart. I scrambled back, standing up and smoothing my apron, my heart trying to escape my chest. Hygiene stood in the doorway, wearing a silk robe. She looked from me to Tae-Yong, her eyes narrowing. Get out, she hissed at me. I bowed frantically. He tripped. I was just helping. Out, she screamed. I ran. I ran all the way back to my room, locked the door, and slid down against it. My hands were shaking. My pulse was racing where his breath had hit me. I looked at the picture of Malik on my desk. I'm sorry, I whispered to the photo. I almost forgot. But as I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't get his voice out of my head. I had to choose. Sacrifice 1 to save 20. Was it possible? Was it possible the file I had was wrong? Or that Tae-Yong had been lied to? I needed to know. And to know, I had to stay. I had to get closer to the dragon. Even if it meant getting burned. The morning sun hit the marble floors of the kitchen, but it didn't feel warm. It felt like an interrogation light. I was making coffee, specifically a double-shot espresso from the Italian machine that cost more than my entire nursing school tuition, when he walked in. Ma Tae-Yong. He was dressed for business. A sharp, charcoal 3-piece suit, hair perfectly styled back, his face a mask of absolute indifference. If I hadn't felt the connection between us 6 hours ago, if I hadn't seen the pain in his eyes, I would have thought I imagined the whole thing. He didn't look at me. He walked straight to the island, picked up the cup I had just placed there, and drank. The car is waiting, sir, Ki-bum said, walking in behind him. Ki-bum looked fresh, smiling that snake smile, tapping away on the latest foldable phone. The shareholders are worried about the dip in stock. We need to make a statement today. Tae-Yong set the cup down. Hard. I will make the statement. You just make sure the security software on the server is updated. I had a glitch last night. My heart stopped. He knew. He knew someone had been in the files. Ki-bum's eyes flickered to me, then back to Tae-Yong. A glitch? Or a breach? Maybe we should do a sweep of the staff devices. Just to be safe. Tae-Yong finally looked at me. His gaze was unreadable. Cold. Distant. No need. It was a false alarm. Let's go. He walked out without a second glance. I stood there, gripping the counter, my knuckles white. He had protected me. Again. Why? If you're thinking Bennett should pack her bags and run right now, tell me in the comments. Would you stay in a house with a man who might be dangerous, just because he saved you? Hit like if you think she's crazy, and subscribe to see if this risk pays off. I spent the next 3 hours scrubbing the library floor, but my mind was miles away. I needed to know what he meant by saving 20 lives. I needed access to the outside world. I waited until Ms. Paik went to the market. I slipped into my room and booted up my laptop. I connected to a secure proxy server, something Malik had taught me to do. Always hide your digital footprint, Bennett. I typed in the date of Malik's passing and the location. Atlanta. Warehouse District. The official report said street conflict. But I dug deeper. I used an AI-powered news aggregator to pull up every local blog and post from that night within a 2-mile radius. And there it was. A buried thread on a community forum. Did anyone else see the black van block the school bus during the crossfire? They took the hits so the kids could get away. My breath caught. A school bus? At 10 p.m.? I searched the bus schedules. A late-night field trip returning from the museum. The route went right past that alley. If Tae-Yong's men hadn't intervened, that bus would have been in the line of fire. I sat back, my hands trembling. Malik was walking home. He wasn't the target. He was just There. Caught in a conflict Tae-Yong was trying to stop? No, I whispered. He's still the lead. He gave the order. He is responsible. But the fire in my gut, the one that wanted to strike him, was flickering. It was being replaced by something more dangerous. Confusion. And a pull. A magnetic pull toward the man who looked so lonely in his tower. Bennett. I slammed the laptop shut and hid it under my mattress just as the door banged open. It was Hygiene. She looked stunning, dressed in a white tennis outfit that had clearly never seen a tennis court. She was holding a stack of brochures. Pack a bag, she ordered, tossing the brochures on my bed. I'm going to the Lotus Wellness Retreat in Jeju for the weekend. You're coming to carry my things. I blinked. Me, ma'am? But Ms. Paik said. I don't care what she said. You're young. You can lift my luggage. The other staff are too slow. We leave in an hour. And don't bring any plain clothes. I don't want you embarrassing me. She spun around and left. I looked at the brochure. Lotus Wellness. It was a 5-star medical spa. Oxygen chambers, cryotherapy, 4 drips, the works. But why take me? She hated me. Unless she needed a witness. Or an alibi. I packed quickly, tucking a small defensive tool into my boot and a hidden voice recorder into my apron pocket. If I was going on a trip with the devil's wife, I was going to be prepared. The drive to the private airfield was silent. Hygiene spent the entire time texting, smiling at her screen in a way she never smiled at Tae-Yong. We boarded a private jet, Ma Corporation branding on the side. The luxury was suffocating. White leather seats, beverages on ice. But when we landed in Jeju, we didn't go to the retreat. The car dropped us at a secluded villa on the cliffs, overlooking the ocean. It was beautiful and isolated. Unpack the bags in the guest room, Hygiene ordered, checking her reflection in the mirror. And stay out of sight. I have a private instructor coming. I am not to be disturbed. Yes, ma'am. I carried the heavy designer bags to the room. As I was hanging up her dresses, I heard a car pull up on the gravel outside. I crept to the window. It wasn't an instructor. It was a black sports car. And stepping out of it, wearing sunglasses and a casual linen shirt, was Nam Ki-bum. My blood ran cold. The cousin. The underboss. Hygiene ran out of the front door and threw her arms around him. He spun her around, meeting her with a deep, familiar embrace. It wasn't the look of a secret affair, it was the look of a takeover. Did you bring it? I heard Hygiene ask as he set her down. The papers? Ki-bum laughed. Of course. Once he signs these, the company is ours. And once the legacy issue is resolved, he will have nothing left. I pressed my back against the wall, sliding down to the floor. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning a coup. The legacy issue. That's why she refused to have a child. She was waiting to destroy him first. I had to warn him. I waited until nightfall. The sounds coming from the master suite were loud and clear. I felt sick. Not just because of the betrayal, but because I pictured Tae-Yong, alone in that big house, thinking his marriage failed because he wasn't good enough, while his wife was laughing in the arms of his rival. I slipped out the back door and climbed down the rocky path to the beach. The signal was weak, but I managed to get a connection. I didn't have Tae-Yong's number. I couldn't just call the house. I texted the only number I had found in the files, his private encrypted line for emergencies. The snake is in the garden. Check the Jeju Villa security feed. B. I held my breath. 1 minute. 2 minutes. My phone buzzed. Who is this? Someone who knows you didn't mean for that boy to fall. There was a long pause. Then, the phone rang. I stared at it. If I answered, my cover was blown. He would know my voice. But if I didn't, I let it ring. A moment later, a text came through. I'm coming. My heart was hammering. He was coming here? To Jeju? I went back inside, my mind racing. I had to get proof before he arrived. If he just showed up, they would lie. They would say Ki-bum was here for business. I needed to record them admitting the plan. I crept toward the living room. They were sitting on the sofa now, drinking wine. He's getting desperate, Ki-bum was saying. Madame Cheon gave him 30 days. If there's no announcement, she calls for a vote of no confidence. And then you step in, Hyejin smiled, tracing a finger down his chest. Chairman Nam. It has a nice ring to it. And what about the maid? Ki-bum asked. The new one. Bennett. She watches too much. Her. Hyejin laughed. She's an idiot. She barely speaks Korean. I brought her so I'd have someone to fetch my water. Don't worry about her. If she becomes a problem, we can always arrange an accident. Like the one in the past. The world stopped. I froze in the shadows. The air left my lungs. Like the one in the past. Ki-bum chuckled darkly. Yeah, that was messy. I told the guys to just scare the kid, make sure the message got back to Atlanta. But they went too far. Still, it worked out. Tae-Yong took the blame, like the martyr he is. He thinks he failed to stop a conflict. He doesn't know the threat started from inside his own house. Tears streamed down my face. Hot, angry, silent tears. It wasn't Tae-Yong. It was Ki-bum. Tae-Yong had lived with the guilt, the nightmares, the darkness, for a crime he didn't commit. For an act his own family orchestrated to weaken him. I looked at the defensive tool in my boot. I could take him out. Right now. I could walk into that room and handle Ki-bum myself. It would be justice. It would be for Malik. But then I thought of Tae-Yong. Driving through the night, coming here because of a cryptic text from a maid. If I handled Ki-bum now, Tae-Yong would never know the truth. He would never be free of the weight. I had to wait. I had to let him see it. The sound of a helicopter cut through the night air. The glass doors rattled. Ki-bum jumped up. What is that? Hyejin looked pale. Is that the company chopper? I stepped out of the shadows then. I didn't bow. I didn't look down. I looked straight at them, my eyes burning. Bennett. Hyejin shrieked. What are you doing? Get back to your room. No, I said in perfect, unaccented Korean. Ki-bum's eyes widened. You. He's here, I said, my voice steady. The dragon is here. The front doors didn't just open. They were forced in. Ma Tae-Yong stood there. He wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing a black tactical shirt and cargo pants, looking like the soldier he used to be. Rain dripped from his hair. He looked formidable. And behind him, flanking the door, were 4 of his most loyal guards. He didn't look at Ki-bum. He didn't look at his wife. He looked straight at me. Bennett, he breathed, like he couldn't believe I was real. Tae-Yong. Hyejin cried, trying to compose herself. This isn't what it looks like. Ki-bum just came to deliver papers. Tae-Yong walked into the room. The energy shifted. It was heavy, suffocating. He walked past his wife like she was furniture. He walked past Ki-bum, who was visibly sweating. He stopped in front of me. You texted me, he said softly. I did. You speak Korean. I do. Who are you? Does it matter right now? I nodded toward the couple trembling by the sofa. Or does the truth matter more? Tae-Yong turned slowly. The look on his face wasn't anger. It was something worse. It was calm before the storm. Ki-bum, he said, his voice terrifyingly quiet. Why is my wife wearing your shirt? Ki-bum stammered. Cousin, listen. She was cold. Tae-Yong gripped the defensive gear at his side. He didn't draw it. He just held it. I received an audio file on my drive while I was flying here. A recording. Something about a brother? And a message to Atlanta? Ki-bum's face went white. I smiled. My phone was in my pocket, the voice recorder app still running, syncing to the cloud. It wasn't me. Ki-bum screamed, backing up. It was her. She wanted the power. She wanted you out. Liar. Hyejin shrieked, turning on him. It was your idea. They turned on each other like rats in a sinking ship. Tae-Yong watched them for a moment, disgust written all over his features. Then he looked at his guards. Take them. The lower level. Not the police. Not yet. No. Tae-Yong, please. Hygiene begged as the guards grabbed her. I'm your wife. You forfeited that title a long time ago, he said coldly. As they were let out, the room fell silent. Just the sound of the rain and the ocean. Tae-Yong stood down. His shoulders slumped. The adrenaline was fading, leaving just the exhaustion. He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw the man beneath the shell clearly. He was just a boy who had been betrayed by everyone he ever loved. You lied to me, he said, his voice cracking. About who you are. Yes. Are you going to end me? I looked at his hands. The hands I thought had taken Malik. They were shaking. I took a step closer. The distance between us was charged with static. I came here to end you, I admitted. The truth hung in the air like smoke. He didn't flinch. I know. I saw the way you looked at me in the kitchen. Intensity like that, it has a taste. But I was wrong, I whispered. You didn't do it. I am responsible, he argued, his voice rough. It was my family. My conflict. It wasn't your fault. I reached out, my hand hovering over his arm. You're not the villain in this story, Tae-Yong. You're just the one who survived the betrayal. He looked at my hand, then up at my eyes. His defenses were crumbling. The walls were coming down. Everyone leaves, he whispered. Or they betray me. Which one will you do, Bennett? Or, whatever your name is. Zuri, I said. My name is Zuri. Zuri. He said it like a prayer. Beautiful. He took a step closer. We were inches apart. The smell of rain and cedar and raw, aching needs surrounded us. I should let you go, he murmured, his gaze dropping to my eyes. I should have you removed. Do it, I challenged him, my breath hitching. Send me away. I can't. He reached out, his hand cupping the back of my neck. His fingers were warm, firm, and possessive. He pulled me in, just a fraction of an inch. I can't let you go, he groaned. I need you to stay. For how long? I breathed. His eyes searched mine, dark and intense and full of a hunger that had nothing to do with food. Just give me tonight, he whispered. No lies. No roles. Just us. The thunder crashed outside, but I didn't hear it. All I could hear was the pounding of my own heart and the silent promise passing between us. I shouldn't. He was still in a dangerous world. This life was still high risk. But as he leaned in, forehead to forehead, I knew I wasn't going anywhere. Okay, I whispered. One night. And then, the dragon bowed his head, and his forehead touched mine, not an act of passion, but a gesture of desperate, deep gratitude. But as I closed my eyes, seeking peace in his presence, I didn't see the shadow moving in the hallway behind us. I didn't see the camera lens glinting in the dark. Someone else was watching. And they weren't happy. The shadow in the hallway moved. I held my breath, my hand instinctively going to the small tool hidden in my boot, but Tae-Yong was faster. He stepped in front of me, shielding my body with his own, his hand already on his sidearm. Come out, he commanded, his voice low and dangerous. Or I engage. A figure stepped into the dim light. It wasn't a guard. It wasn't an operation. It was Miss Paik, the head housekeeper. She looked small in her gray nightgown, her hair down for the first time, making her look older, softer. She didn't look scared. She looked sad. Miss Paik, I whispered, peeking around Tae-Yong's shoulder. Master, she bowed low, ignoring me. I suggest you move quickly. Madame Cheon has eyes in the security team. The feed from this villa goes directly to her private server. She knows. Tae-Yong lowered his defense, but he didn't relax. She knows about Kibum? She knows everything, Ms. Paik said, lifting her head. She knows your wife has been betraying you. She knows about the cousin. But she does not care about betrayal, Master. She cares about control. She will use this to declare you incompetent. She will say you cannot control your own house, so you cannot control the company. I felt Tae-Yong tense up against me. He was a dragon to the world, but to his mother, he was just a disappointment. Why are you telling me this? He asked. You work for her. You've reported on me for years. Miss Pig looked at me then. Her eyes were sharp, but there was a flicker of respect in them. Because this one, she pointed a bony finger at me, she is the first one who looked at you and saw a man, not a bank account. I am old, master. I am tired of watching snakes eat their own tails. Go. Take the girl. Do not go back to the main house. Go to the safe house in Busan. Thank you, Auntie, Tae-Yong said softly. It was the first time I heard him use a term of endearment for her. He grabbed my hand. We have to move. Now. We ran. The rain was still pouring, washing away the sins of the night, but I didn't feel cold. His hand was warm, gripping mine tight like I was the only thing keeping him anchored to the earth. We didn't take the helicopter. Too loud. Too easy to track. We took the black sports car Ki-bum had arrived in. Tae-Yong drove with lethal focus, tearing down the coastal roads, the headlights cutting through the darkness. I looked at his profile. The sharp jawline, the intense focus in his eyes. He was exhausted, betrayed, his entire life falling apart, but he looked free. You okay? He asked, not taking his eyes off the road. I'm fine, I lied. My heart was still racing from the adrenaline. Where are we going? A place nobody knows about. Not even my mother. He reached over and took my hand again, bringing it to his lips. He kissed my knuckles, one by one. The gesture was so intimate, so tender, it made my stomach flip. Zuri, he said, testing my name again. Zuri. It suits you. It sounds strong. It means beautiful, I whispered. It means trouble, he smirked, our real smile this time. You infiltrated my house. You accessed my files. You held a blade to your boss. You are a very bad maid. I laughed, a breathless sound. I make good coffee, though. The best, he agreed. We drove for 4 hours. By the time we pulled up to a small, modern cabin hidden deep in the bamboo forests of Busan, the sun was starting to rise. The sky was a bruised purple and pink. The cabin was simple. Wood, glass, minimal furniture. It was the opposite of the cold, marble prison in Seoul. I bought this years ago, he said, unlocking the door. For a life I thought I would never have. We walked inside. It smelled like cedar and dust. He turned to me, and the air shifted again. The adrenaline was gone, leaving only the raw, aching tension between us. He looked at me, really looked at me. My uniform was ruined, wet, and muddy. My hair was a mess. I must have looked terrible. You're shivering, he said. I'm okay. You're not. He walked into the bathroom and turned on the shower. Steam started to fill the room. He came back out with a towel and a large t-shirt. Go. Get warm. I'll make tea. I showered quickly, scrubbing the feeling of hygiene's villa off my skin. When I put on his t-shirt, it swallowed me. It smelled like him. Sandalwood and rain. I buried my nose in the fabric for a second, inhaling him, before walking back out. He was in the kitchen, boiling water. He had taken off his tactical vest, wearing just a black t-shirt that clung to his chest. He looked domestic. Humans. Here, he handed me a mug. Ginger and honey. We sat on the floor by the window, watching the bamboo sway in the wind. What happens now? I asked, breaking the silence. Your mother, the company. Let it burn, he said quietly. I have enough money in offshore accounts. We can disappear. Go anywhere. Switzerland. Italy. Or America? We could go to Atlanta. I looked at him, shocked. You would leave everything? Your legacy. It's not a legacy, Zuri. It's a cage. And I'm tired. He turned to me, his dark eyes intense. For the first time in my life, I don't want to be the chairman. I just want to be Tae-Yong. He reached out and tucked a wet strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers lingered on my jawline. And I want you to be with me. My breath hitched. Tae-Yong, you don't even know me. I lied to you. You told me the truth where it mattered, he whispered, leaning closer. You saw my pain. You saved me. That is the only truth I care about. He closed the distance. His lips brushed mine softly at first, testing, asking for permission. I didn't pull away. I leaned in. And then he kissed me. It wasn't like in the movies. It was better. It was desperate and slow and consuming. He tasted like tea and longing. His hands tangled in my hair, pulling me closer until there was no air between us. I felt his heart pounding against my chest, matching the frantic rhythm of mine. For a moment, the world didn't exist. No syndicate, no revenge, no lost brother. Just us. He pulled back slowly, resting his forehead against mine, both of us breathing hard. "Stay," he whispered against my lips. "Don't run away." "I'm not running, I promised. But peace is a luxury people like us can't afford." His phone buzzed on the floor. Then mine buzzed. Then the TV screen on the wall automatically turned on an emergency broadcast override. We pulled apart, looking at the screen. It was the news. Breaking news: Ma Corporation stock plummets amid divorce scandal. The screen showed a photo of Hygiene, looking tearful and bruised, standing next to Ma Tae-Yong. My blood turned to ice. "The chairman is unstable," Ma Tae-Yong was saying to the reporters, her face a mask of sorrow. "He has been mentally unwell since the incident in Atlanta. He has become volatile. He attacked his wife and his cousin in a fit of paranoia. We are forced to remove him from leadership for his own good." "That witch," Tae-Yong growled, standing up. "She's framing me." Hygiene stepped up to the microphone, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. "I tried to save him," she sobbed. "But he is under the influence of a foreign agent. A maid who infiltrated our home. She has manipulated him." My picture flashed on the screen. A grainy photo from my visa application. Wanted for questioning, Zuri West. Suspected espionage and extortion. They flipped the script, I whispered, horror rising in my throat. "They're making you the villain and me the spy." "If I don't go back," Tae-Yong said, his voice hard as steel, "they will hunt us down. They will freeze my accounts. They will send elimination teams. We can't run, Zuri." He turned to me. The soft, domestic man was gone. The dragon was back. "We have to fight." "How?" I asked, standing up. "They have the media. They have the board. They have a lie. We need a bigger truth," he said. "Or a bigger lie." We drove back to Seoul in silence. The tension in the car was thick enough to choke on. This wasn't a romantic getaway anymore. This was a battle. We didn't go to the mansion. We went straight to the Ma Corporation headquarters. The emergency board meeting was happening right now. Ma Tae-Yong was moving fast to vote him out. Security tried to stop us at the lobby. Tae-Yong didn't even slow down. He walked through the metal detectors, his eyes blazing. "Touch me," he told the head of security, "and it's the last mistake you make." The guards stepped back. They knew who the real master was. We took the private elevator to the top floor. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I was still wearing his t-shirt, tucked into my jeans, with an oversized blazer he gave me thrown over it. I didn't look like a spy. I looked like a mess. "Are you ready?" he asked as the elevator doors opened. "No," I admitted. "But let's do it anyway." He took my hand. Not hiding it. He laced his fingers through mine and marched down the hallway. We burst into the boardroom. "This meeting is adjourned," Ma Tae-Yong shouted, standing at the head of the table. 30 old men in suits turned to look at us. Hygiene was there, sitting next to Ki-bum, who looked bruised but smug. They gasped when they saw Tae-Yong. "You have no authority here," Ma Tae-Yong screamed. "You are removed. The vote is cast." "The vote is invalid," Tae-Yong said, his voice booming across the room. "I am the majority shareholder." Not without an air. Ma Tae-Yong slammed her hand on the table. "The family trust clearly states, if the chairman has no direct heir by the age of 30, the control reverts to the matriarch until a suitable successor is found. You are 30 today, Tae-Yong. And you have nothing. No son. No legacy. Just a cheap distraction." She pointed a shaking finger at me. She is the reason you are failing. Security. Remove this garbage. Guards started to move forward. Ki-bum was smiling. Hygiene looked triumphant. They had won. It was over. The clause in the trust was ironclad. Without a child, he lost everything. Tae-Yong squeezed my hand. He looked ready to take them all on physically. But fists couldn't win this legal battle. I looked at him. I looked at the man who wanted to leave it all for me. The man who was innocent of my brother's loss. The man I loved. I couldn't let them destroy him. I stepped forward, pulling my hand from his. Stop. I yelled. My voice echoed in the silent room. Madame Cheon sneered. The help speaks? How quaint. I am not the help, I said, lifting my chin. I placed a hand on my stomach. It was a gamble. A crazy, reckless, impossible gamble. But it was the only card we had. And he is not without an heir. The room went deathly silent. You could hear a pin drop. Tae-Yong looked at me, confusion flashing in his eyes. Zuri? I didn't look at him. I stared straight at Madame Cheon. You want a successor? You want a bloodline? You have one. I rubbed my flat stomach gently. I am carrying the next chairman of the Ma Corporation. Hygiene gasped, dropping her glass of water. It shattered on the floor, a sharp, violent sound. Liar, she shrieked. That's impossible. Is it? I challenged her. We have been together for months. Under your nose. While you were busy with his cousin. I turned to the board members. The chairman has an heir. The clause is satisfied. You cannot remove him. Madame Cheon's face turned purple. She looked at Tae-Yong from me. Is this true? She demanded, her voice shaking with rage. Tae-Yong. Tell me she is lying. Tae-Yong stared at me. He knew it was a lie. We had only just kissed for the first time hours ago. There was no child. There was no pregnancy. If he denied it, I went to jail, and he lost the company. If he agreed, we were trapped in a lie so big it could crush us both. He looked at my stomach, then up at my eyes. He saw desperation. He saw the strategy. Slowly, a smile spread across his face. It was the smile of the dragon. He walked over to me, wrapped his arm around my waist, and pulled me flush against his side. His large hand covered mine over my stomach. The heat from his palm was grounding. Mother, he said, his voice dripping with mock politeness. Don't you want to say congratulations? You're going to be a grandmother. Pandemonium broke out. The board members started shouting over each other. Reporters who had sneaked in started flashing cameras. Click. 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 This is absurd. I demand a test. Hygiene screamed. You will get nothing. Tae-Yong silenced her with a look. You're fired. Get out of my building. He looked down at me. In the chaos of the flashing lights and screaming voices, he whispered in my ear. You just started a war, Zuri. I know, I whispered back, trembling. We have to make it real. Make what real? The air, I breathed. Or they destroy us both. He looked at me, his eyes darkening with that same intensity one saw in the cabin. Well then, he murmured, his lips grazing my earlobe. We have a lot of work to do. The elevator ride down from the boardroom felt like falling off a cliff in slow motion. The silence was heavy, thick with the lie we had just told the world. Tae-Yong didn't let go of my hand. His grip was so tight my fingers were going numb, but I didn't pull away. I needed the anchor. We stepped out into the lobby, and it was chaos. Flashes blinded us. Reporters were shouting questions about the heir, about the scandal, about the mystery woman who tamed the dragon. Tae-Yong ignored them all, guiding me toward the waiting car with his arm wrapped protectively around my waist. We slid into the back of his Genesis G90, the heavy door thudding shut and cutting off the noise instantly. The silence in the car was even louder than the noise outside. Drive, Tae-Yong ordered the driver. Home. As the car pulled away, I slumped back against the leather seat, the adrenaline crashing out of my system. I put my hands over my face. What did I just do? I whispered into my palms. I just told the most powerful woman in Korea that I'm carrying her grandson. She's going to find out, Tae-Yong. She's going to destroy me. She won't touch you, Tae-Yong said. His voice was calm. Too calm. I dropped my hands and looked at him. He was watching me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. He reached into the mini fridge console and pulled out a bottle of water, twisting the cap off for me. Drink, he said softly. You're shaking. I took the bottle, my teeth chattering against the rim. How can you be so calm? We have a month, maybe less, before she demands a paternity test or an ultrasound. And when she sees there is no heir. We bought time, he interrupted, leaning closer. Time is the most expensive currency in my world. And you just bought us a fortune. He reached out, his thumb tracing the line of my jaw. Why did you do it, Zuri? You could have walked away. You could have let me lose the company. I told you, I breathed, leaning into his touch despite myself. I'm not running. He stared at my lips. You are reckless. And brilliant. And dangerous. And a liar, I added. My liar, he corrected. The car turned onto the private road leading to the penthouse. I looked out the window, trying to steady my heart rate. I pulled out my phone. I needed to see what was happening. I opened the AI-driven market analysis app Malik used to use, TradeFlow, to see the stock reaction. The stock jumped 8%, I murmured, staring at the screen. The market likes certainty. And Heir provides certainty. See? Tae-Yong smirked, taking the phone from my hand and setting it aside. You're already a better chairman than my mother. We arrived at the penthouse. The staff was lined up in the foyer, Ms. Paik at the front. But the atmosphere was different. Before, they looked at me with suspicion or indifference. Now, they looked at me with awe. I was the woman carrying the golden child. Welcome home, master. Mistress, Ms. Paik bowed lower than she ever had. I have prepared the master suite. I assumed, given the news, you would be moving your things from the servants' quarters. My face went hot. Yes, Tae-Yong answered smoothly, his hand resting on the small of my back. Move everything. Zuri stays with me from now on. Ms. Paik's eyes flickered to my stomach, then up to my face. A tiny, almost invisible smile touched her lips. I will prepare a special tea. For the health of the family. Thank you, Auntie, Tae-Yong said. We walked up the grand staircase, the weight of a dozen eyes on our backs. Every step felt like walking further into a trap. But when Tae-Yong opened the double doors to his bedroom, our bedroom now, and locked them behind us, the trap felt smaller, more intimate. The room was massive, dominated by a king-sized bed with black silk sheets. The floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the city, the rain from the earlier storm still streaking the glass. I stood in the middle of the room, hugging my arms around myself. We can't keep this up, Tae-Yong. Miss Paik is bringing tea. Madame Cheon will send doctors. It's a medical fact that I am not carrying a child. Tae-Yong took off his jacket, tossing it onto a chair. He loosened his tie, his movement slow, deliberate. He walked toward me, unbuttoning his cuffs. My mother is old-fashioned, he said, stopping inches from me. She won't send a doctor immediately. She will wait for the safe period to pass. She is superstitious. She won't risk stressing the mother. So we have a few weeks, I said, my voice trembling. Then what? Then he stepped closer, his chest brushing against mine. We make the lie the truth. My breath hitched. Tae-Yong. You said it in the boardroom, he whispered, his voice dropping an octave, vibrating through my chest. We better get to work. I said that to save the company. Did you? He reached out and ran his hands down my arms, his fingers trailing warmth over my skin. He gripped my waist, pulling me firmly against him. I could feel the heat radiating off him, the solid wall of muscle beneath his shirt. Zuri, he murmured, his face burying in the crook of my neck. He inhaled deeply. I haven't been able to think straight since you challenged me. You drive me insane. You make me want to face the world just to keep you safe. This is dangerous, I gasped, tilting my head back as his lips grazed the sensitive skin of my throat. We are partners. Partners don't. Partners build empires, he whispered against my skin. And empires need heirs. He pulled back just enough to look me in the eyes. The hunger there was raw, honest. It wasn't the look of a chairman. It was the look of a man who had found his equal. I don't want to do this for the company, he said, his voice rough. I don't want to do this for the board. I want you because you're the only real thing I have ever found. Tears pricked my eyes. Tae-Yong, I'm scared. Not of you. Of losing you. If we do this, there is no going back. Good, he said. I never look back. He captured my lips. This wasn't like the kiss in the cabin. That was desperate fleeing. This was a claim. It was slow, deep, and deliberate. His hands roamed over my back, memorizing the curve of my spine. I wrapped my arms around his neck, pulling him closer, needing to be closer, until there was no space left between us. He walked us backward until my legs hit the edge of the mattress. We fell onto the black silk, a tangle of limbs and whispered promises. Tell me to stop, he murmured, hovering over me, his eyes searching mine. Tell me to stop and I will sleep on the floor. I will never cross this line if you don't want this. I looked up at him. The dragon of Gangnam, asking for permission. Don't stop, I whispered. Please. Just make me forget everything else. He kissed me again, and the world outside the windows disappeared. There was no Madame Cheon. No lost brother. No lies. Just the warmth of his embrace, the sound of his heartbeat, and the feeling of finally coming home. The morning sun was brutal. It cut through the curtains, waking me up not with warmth, but with a glare. I rolled over, reaching for him, but the other side of the bed was cold. Panic spiked in my chest. I sat up, pulling the sheet around me. Tae-Yong. He wasn't in the room. I scrambled out of bed, grabbing his discarded shirt from the floor and pulling it on. I ran out into the hallway. He was standing on the balcony, already dressed in a fresh suit. But he wasn't looking at the view. He was looking at a tablet, his knuckles white as he gripped it. Tae-Yong. I stepped out onto the cool stone. What is it? He turned to me. His face was pale. It's the wellness center, he said, his voice hollow. The one in Switzerland. The one I sent money to. What about it? I asked, stepping closer. I got a notification from the bank. The monthly payment bounced. Why? Because the account was closed, he said, looking at me with haunted eyes. The patient passed away last night. I frowned. What patient? Who were you paying for, Tae-Yong? He took a deep breath, the pain in his eyes shattering me. The boy, he whispered. The boy from Atlanta. He didn't fade away in the alley, Zuri. My men, they got him to a private jet. They flew him to the best trauma center in the world. I've been paying for his care for 6 months. Praying for a miracle. The world stopped spinning. The ground fell out from under me. Wait, I choked out. You mean Malik? Malik was alive. He was in a coma, Tae-Yong said, tears filling his eyes. I didn't tell you because I wanted to give him back. I wanted to wake him up and bring him to you. I failed, Zuri. I failed you again. He passed this morning. I fell to my knees. A sob tore through my throat, raw and agonizing. Malik had been alive. This whole time. While I was plotting revenge, while I was cleaning floors, while I was falling in love with Tae-Yong. Malik was fighting for his life in a Swiss hospital funded by the man I wanted to target. Tae-Yong dropped to the floor with me, wrapping his arms around me as I wept. I'm sorry, he whispered into my hair. I'm so sorry. But through the grief, a cold, sharp thought pierced my mind. Malik was stable. The files I saw said he was stable. Why did he pass last night? The same night Kibum and hygiene were removed? The same night we announced the heir? I pulled back, looking at Tae-Yong, my eyes burning. He didn't just pass, I hissed, my voice shaking with a new, terrible rage. Someone ended it. Someone finished the job to hurt us. Tae-Yong's face hardened. The sorrow evaporated, replaced by the dragon's fury. My mother, he whispered. She controls the Swiss accounts. I stood up, wiping the tears from my face. The sadness was gone. There was only fire now. She took my brother to punish you, I said, my voice deadly calm. She took him because we won yesterday. I walked to the railing and looked out at the city. We don't just need a lie anymore, Tae-Yong. We don't just need a fake heir. I turned back to him. We need to burn her whole world down. And this time, I'm not using a letter opener. Tae-Yong stood up, buttoning his jacket. What do you need? I need access to the mainframe, I said. And I need a flight to Switzerland. We are going to get my brother back. And then, we are going to bury your mother's legacy. The screen of my laptop was the only light in the room. It was 3 a.m. Tae-Yong was pacing behind me, a caged tiger waiting to strike. I wasn't just looking at code, I was looking at the digital fingerprint of a crime. I found it, I whispered, my voice raspy. She didn't just stop the payment, Tae-Yong. She sent a terminate care override to the hospital's automated system. She signed it with your digital signature. Tae-Yong stopped pacing. He leaned over me, his hands gripping the back of my chair so hard the leather creaked. He looked at the screen at the timestamp. It was exactly 1 hour after we announced the heir. She ended him to frame me, he realized, his voice vibrating with a deadly frequency. If I try to expose her, she will release this. She will tell the world I authorized the end of the victim of my own conflict to save money. I turned the chair around to face him. He looked wrecked. The guilt was eating him alive again. She thinks she's playing 4D chess, I said, standing up and placing my hands on his chest. I could feel his heart hammering a war drum. But she forgot one thing. I'm not a maid, Tae-Yong. And I'm not just a nursing student. Who are you then? He asked, his eyes searching mine, desperate for a savior. I'm the woman who is going to take her queen. I pulled his phone from his pocket. Call her. Tell her we are holding a press conference tomorrow at noon. Tell her we are going to reveal the gender of the heir. And tell her. I'm terrified. Terrified. Make her think she's won, I smirked, cold and sharp. Make her think I'm ready to run. That's when she'll make a mistake. If you want to see how the dragon and the maid take down the ultimate villain, stop what you are doing and hit that subscribe button right now. Like this video if you think revenge is a dish best served cold, and comment checkmate if you are ready for the finale. This is Story's Pulse, and we are finishing this. The next morning was a blur of calculated chaos. We weren't preparing a celebration, we were preparing a takedown. I used Sentinel AI, a forensic accounting tool I had accessed during my nursing school days, to trace the IP address of the order sent to Switzerland. It wasn't sent from the office. It was sent from Madame Tae-Yong's private encrypted tablet. The one she never let out of her sight. I needed that tablet. She will be at the salon at 10 a.m., Tae-Yong said, adjusting his cufflinks. He looked regal today. Not a gangster, but a king. She leaves the tablet in her bag. Her security detail is heavy. I don't need to steal it, I said, fixing my own dress. It was white, innocent, maternal. The perfect costume. I just need to be near it for 30 seconds with my cloner. We walked out to the car. The world was watching us. The news cycles were running 24/7 coverage of the Mafia prince and his Cinderella. We played the part. He held my hand. I touched my stomach. We smiled. But inside the car, the air was thick with tension. Not fear. Heat. Tae-Yong ran his hand up my thigh, his thumb pressing into the soft skin there. You look beautiful, he murmured, his eyes dark. And terrifying. It draws me in. Focus, Chairman, I breathed, my pulse jumping. We have a funeral to plan. We arrived at the venue, the grand ballroom of the Ma Hotel. It was decked out in blue and pink flowers. It was ironic. A celebration of life, while my brother lay in a morgue halfway across the world. Madame Tae-Yong was already there. She sat on a throne-like chair in the center, surrounded by her inner circle. She looked like a viper in silk. Mother, Tae-Yong bowed slightly. My son, she smiled, but her eyes were cold. She looked at me. And the mother. Madame Tae-Yong, I bowed clumsily, acting nervous. I clutched my purse tight. I hope we can put the past behind us. For the family. We shall see, she said dismissively. Come, sit by me. Let us talk about your background. I sat. I placed my purse next to hers on the small table. My purse had a high-powered NFC cloner hidden in the lining. Beep. A tiny vibration against my leg. Connection established. I hear you're from Atlanta, she said, sipping her tea. A tragic city. So much violence. Yes, I whispered, watching the progress bar on my phone under the table. 50%. 60%. My brother passed there. A pity, she said, not sounding sorry at all. But perhaps it was for the best. Weak branches must be pruned so the tree can grow. I froze. She was talking about Malik like he was a weed. 90%. 100%. Download complete. I stood up abruptly. I think I'm going to be sick. Nerves, she scoffed. I ran to the bathroom. Once inside the stall, I opened the clone files. There it was. The biometric log. The GPS data. The termination command. I sent it all to the main projector in the ballroom. It's done, I texted Tae-Yong. I walked back out. The room was full now. Hundreds of reporters, board members, and rival family heads. Tae-Yong stood on the stage. Welcome, he said, his voice booming. Today, we promise to reveal the future of the Ma Corporation. The legacy. He looked at me. I nodded. But first, he continued, we must honor the past. My mother always taught me that family is everything. That we protect our own. Madame Tae-Yong nodded regally from her seat. But there is a rot in this family, Tae-Yong said, his voice turning ice cold. A poison that hurts its own children. The screen behind him flickered. It didn't show a blue or pink balloon. It showed a document. A status report. Malik West. Status: deceased. Date: yesterday. Then it showed the log. Authorized by device ID CGN-001. The room gasped. Flashbulbs erupted like lightning. Madame Tae-Yong stood up, her teacup crashing to the floor. Turn it off. This is a fabrication. Is it? Tae-Yong stepped down from the stage, stalking toward her. The IP address matches your location. The biometric signature is yours. You sacrificed an innocent boy, the brother of the woman carrying your heir, just to hurt me. He stopped in front of her. He towered over her. For the first time, the dragon looked bigger than the matriarch. You are not the protector of this family, he spat. You are its destroyer. I did it for you, she shrieked, losing her composure. To save you from this spy. She is nobody. She is dirt. She is my wife, Tae-Yong roared. Silence. Absolute silence. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring. A simple band he must have bought that morning. He turned to me. Zuri West, he said, loud enough for the world to hear. I don't care about the board. I don't care about the clause. I choose you. He didn't ask. He just slid the ring onto my finger. Take her into custody, he ordered the security team. You can't. Madame Tae-Yong screamed as the guards moved in. I am the regent. I control the trust. Not anymore, I said, stepping forward. I held up my phone. I just live-streamed your confession to the police commissioner. And I used legal AI to file an emergency injunction against you for criminal negligence. It's over, madam. She looked at me with pure hatred. Then, she looked at Tae-Yong. And finally, she crumbled. The guards dragged her out, screaming curses, her dignity left in tatters on the ballroom floor. Tae-Yong didn't watch her go. He was looking at me. The reporters were shouting. Chairman, is there really an heir? When is the due date? Tae-Yong looked at the crowd, then back at me. He leaned into the microphone. That, he said, a wicked glint in his eye, is none of your business. The meeting was adjourned. He grabbed my hand and pulled me off the stage, through the kitchen, and out the back exit before anyone could stop us. We didn't go home. We went to the airport. Where are we going? I asked, breathless, as we ran onto the tarmac where the jet was waiting. Switzerland, he said, helping me up the stairs. To bring Malik home. To give him a proper burial in Atlanta. And then, he stopped at the door of the jet. He pulled me close, his hands framing my face. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by that heavy, magnetic pull that always existed between us. And then, he whispered, we disappear. I transferred the assets to a blind trust. The company can run itself. I'm done being the chairman. So what will you be? I asked, my hands resting on his chest. Just Tae-Yong, he said. And yours. If you'll still have me. I looked at the ring on my finger. It was fake, a prop for the show. But the look in his eyes? That was real. The heat of his body against mine? That was real. I'm a difficult woman to keep, I warned him, echoing the words I said the first night. I like a challenge, he smirked. He leaned down and kissed me. It was a kiss of promise. A kiss that tasted of freedom and danger, and a future that was completely unwritten. And about the air, he murmured against my lips, pulling me tighter. We lied to the world. We did, I agreed, my heart fluttering. I don't like lying to my investors, he growled, lifting me up effortlessly. So I think we should start working on making that statement true. Right now. In the jet. I laughed, wrapping my arms around his neck. It's a long flight to Zurich, he said, closing the door shut behind us. The engines roared to life, lifting us into the sky, away from the pain, away from the past. Malik was gone, and my heart would always ache for him. But as I looked at the man who had risked everything for me, I knew one thing for sure. I came for justice. I stayed for love. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving. I was living. And that is the best revenge of all. Thank you for watching this Pulse story. If Zuri and Tae-Yong's journey kept you on the edge of your seat, please smash that like button and share this video with a friend who loves a dark romance. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications because our next story is going to be even wilder. Would you have forgiven the mafia boss? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, stay dangerous.